Welcome to the Multifamily Investor Nation podcast. I'm your host, Dan Hanford. With us today is Chantz Ireland. Chantz, I want you to tell us a little bit about yourself and your background before we dive into this 24-unit acquisition that you acquired in January 2020. So take us away. Tell us a little about your background and how you got started, and also kind of where you are right now on the multifamily side of things.
Awesome, Dan. Thanks for having me on the podcast today. So I got into multifamilies when I was 21. I got my first triplex right around then. And then I kind of had that for a few years, and I really wanted to get into bigger buildings. So I got into like LoopNet and Crexy and all there. And that kind of led me into realizing that you could get into these bigger buildings. And so that kind of brought me to finding and closing on this 24 unit that I currently just got.
Awesome. So this 24 unit is called Hidden Acre Estates. It's located in Springfield, Illinois. You acquired it in January 2020. Talk to me a little bit about how you originally sourced and found this deal.
So I went on LoopNet and I kind of found all the brokers in that area. I made just a big old list, and then I emailed every single one of them with the details and everything I was looking for. And I was able to find an off-market one, which is this guy right here. I flew out there for this one and another one, and this one ended up fitting the criteria I was searching for.
So usually, people think about, LoopNet being where deals go to die, but you kind of looked at LoopNet as kind of like a broker research kind of farm, right? So you kind of went out there and saw what were the brokers that were listed out there on LoopNet, started building relationships with the brokers that you found on LoopNet. Is that correct?
Oh, that's exactly right. And that's kind of how I was taught to find the deals, because what you're saying, the deals on LoopNet are kind of the ones that have been passed around that don't usually have the best cap rates or the best returns. And so you got to kind of reach out to those brokers individually and build those relationships.
So what did you do when you first reached out to some of these brokers to further build a relationship with those brokers?
So I kind of just made a list of all their emails and got the brokers that were doing the most deals in the area. And I just kind of put together an email that said, hey, this is, so what I'm looking for, something to 1 to 1.5 million, an 8 cap, 20 units and above, 1970 or newer, and really just gave them exact details of what I was searching for.
And how many of those brokers did you reach out to?
I would say I emailed a good 15 of them. Mm-hmm. And maybe 3 of them replied. And then out of that, one of the guys had a deal that he went to like a Christmas party. So it was back in December, went to a Christmas party, and one of the owners had brought up that he'd be willing to sell. And so I think I just hit him right at that right time. And I was looking, and that guy was selling, and he kind of just connected us, and that worked out.
That's cool. So did you do anything other than just email them, or you just took those 15, just emailed them, blanket kind of email, and then just kind of waited for some responses? Or did you try to pick up the phone call or go meet them? Or were you just trying to do that initial kind of step of just trying to reach out via email?
Yeah. So I wanted to reach out via email, and then whoever sent something back, we would kind of take it farther, go into the phone call. This broker's name was Blake, and he ended up calling me and told me about a few deals he had, and we went and looked at them. And before I put it under contract, I flew out to Springfield. I flew out there for a different property. And as I was going out there to fly out there for a property I had under contract, I decided to, look at multiple properties while I was in the area to kind of save that trip that I was doing. And this was the second property that I actually looked at.
And when the broker reached out to you, have you talked to that broker to ask them why did they send you an off-market deal versus maybe somebody else? Because, obviously it was just an email, right? So like a lot of times we talk about don't just send emails, you got to do multiple steps, multiple follow-ups. I'm sure they probably get dozens of emails every single week or whatever about different people looking at properties. So what was it about maybe your email that stood out to them that would allow them to want to send it to you versus somebody else?
That's a good question. I've never really thought about it like that. I'd have to go back in my emails and look, but I think I literally sent 1 or 2 emails. He kind of called me, asked me exactly what we were looking for, and I kind of laid it out. And he said, well, I might have something if you're interested. And he just sent over, they had like a trailing 12 statement of it, and he just sent it straight over. It was really, really that simple.
And on this 24 unit, what was the final purchase price?
1.3.
So 1.3 million. Mm-hmm. And what was the equity raise on it?
360.
360K. And going through your initial kind of offering phase and offering process, how many rounds of offers would you say that you went through?
Probably 3, because I knew that he had purchased it like a year and a half prior for like 850,000. And so right away I was like, well, I'll offer him 950 and that should work, right? That didn't work. They sent over the statements and I was able to look over all the finances, and they said, well, can you come up with a higher number than what you just offered? And I knew like what my top was. It was probably right around 1.4. And I was like, well, I don't want to come out of the gate at 1.4. So I offered 1.1, and then the seller just kind of came back and was like, hey, we would sell it at 1.3, but nothing less.
Okay. So 1.3 was the final kind of like third round of offers. How long did it take you to get to the point of, getting to the accepted offer to drafting the PSA and getting it signed?
After I flew out there and looked at all I walked through it with the broker and with the owner. We actually got to walk through a few of the units. And when I flew back home, that's when we kind of agreed on a price. And then I think we both had it signed within a week.
Okay. And how much earnest money deposit did you have to put down?
So we had a due diligence phase of like 30 days, and then it was $10,000 that went hard after that.
Okay. So was the 10,000 the total amount that was put up for earnest money deposit, or was there a larger amount but only 10,000 went hard after the DD period?
No, it was just $10,000.
Okay. But did you have to put that up day one as far as, a deposit, but it just didn't go hard until after the due diligence period?
Correct. Yeah.
Okay, good. And what did you end up doing on this property from a due diligence standpoint? Were you able to, or did you find anything that maybe stood out to you or anything like that from a due diligence standpoint?
So, I mean, we did all the obvious things of getting leases and verifying rent income and vacancy and all that. But this property had been completely rehabbed from top to bottom. So, I mean, it had all new windows, all new HVAC systems, all new hot water systems. All the units had been completely redone. And I was kind of in a position where that was really what I was looking for. So nothing too crazy came up on the due diligence. I do think that actually 2 of the hot water heaters were old and 2 of the HVAC systems needed to be replaced. Mm-hmm. But other than that, everything else was relatively brand new.
Was there anything that the lender maybe required you to, put back in reserves to be able to pay for, or anything like that during the inspections, whether it be environmental or anything like that?
We had a $6,000, like a CapEx fund we had to do. Mm-hmm. We were kind of worried about doing anything because it was like in the middle of COVID, which it still kind of is, but they didn't really require any more reserves for that.
So basically just a $6,000 CapEx reserve, but no COVID reserve or anything like that.
Yeah. $6,000 CapEx reserve. And that's really all they're looking for.
So what's the business plan on this property?
So I was mainly looking for somewhere to place. I had 1031 funds, and I think I had like 3 more months where I had to find something. So my business plan on this is like, we bought it. It's cash flow is great. And we're going to kind of hold it for 3 to 5 years. And then at the end, we're going to figure out if it's worth refinancing and pulling our money out, or if we're just going to continue to hold it, see what we're going to do.
Are you planning on doing any renovations up front, like any interior extra renovations, or since it had already been done, you that was kind of a turnkey solution for you?
Yeah, there's nothing that's being like needing to be repaired right now by any means. Mm-hmm. The parking lot needs to be resurfaced. We do need to like paint the lines down and everything, and maybe put some numbers. And we're talking about putting a fence up, because right now we have like they're driving through a certain part of the yard that we don't want them to go through. Mm-hmm. But yeah, other than that, it was a really turnkey 24 unit apartment building. What's
the unit mix?
So there is 22 2-bedroom, 1 bath, and then 2 1-bedroom, 1 bath, and the other 1 bedroom that would have been those ones is the laundry room. So there's a laundry room in each building.
Mm-hmm. And what are the average effective rents for each unit type?
The 2-bedroom, 1 bath are going for $775, mm-hmm. and the 1 bedrooms are going for $675.
And are you planning on being able to increase those rents And is it basically that are these rents right now under market, or are you doing just a standard kind of 2 to 3% kind of rent premium over the next 5 years or so as you hold on to the property?
Yeah, we'll increase it with inflation, but these are really at the market rent for that area for sure. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And overall, what would you say after you did your underwriting was your kind of projected kind of return, not taking into account like, obviously tax benefits and advantages and things like that, but just what would be the overall return kind of for this property?
So I'm getting a 12% cash on cash return. Both of my investors are getting an 8% cash on cash. And our internal rate of return is at 17.9%.
Okay. Still pretty decent returns for non-value add play, just kind of a core holding, if you will, right?
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Yep.
And that's kind of what you guys were looking for and this kind of placing of the 1031 funds. Yeah.
Especially something for my first, large purchase to me was something that didn't need a whole lot of CapEx right away.
Mm-hmm. Where did you find the 1031 funds?
So I owned a triplex that I had bought when I was 21, and then the market improved substantially where I'm at here in Marysville. And I was able to sell it, and I had $260,000. And it was either I'm going to pay, 30% gains on that, or I'm going to put it into another building. And there was no way I was going to pay any sort of capital gains. I had that motivation for sure to find somewhere to place it.
So what was it back when you were 21 years old that you said, hey, I'm going to get into real estate and buy a triplex?
Yeah, I would have to lend the credit to my family and mainly my dad. He was into real estate, and it was like, you're going to do one purchase. Your first purchase is either going to be a single family home and you're going to work for 30 years to pay that off, or you're going to buy a multifamily and that's going to, pay your bills for you. And then you can really broaden your horizons and branch out. And that's really what got me to where I'm at is that one thing, which is pretty cool. I'm really grateful for it.
So you bought this triplex at 21, held it for a few years, I guess, sold it, and now you have this money to be able to put into this larger acquisition. Is your plan to right now buy more, or are you going to plan to just hold on to this property until it's ready to sell, and it's going to just continue to kind of, get into the larger and larger assets as you continue to grow? Continue
to roll them. Yeah. So I actually have two partners on this deal, and they're both really hungry for new deals. And we actually have a few buildings in the area that we're looking at, a few 19 unit and then a 24 unit that are just down the road that we're looking into.
So you'll be working with them to be able to increase to find the next acquisition and increase the portfolio.
Yeah, which is really exciting. I mean, I thought I would just have my money, and then after listening to all these podcasts, and it finds out you don't even need your money, you just need to find the deal. And that's kind of what we've done. And these next two deals that I'm looking at are actually really promising, but they're actually a little on the heavier of the lift side, which is cool. I'd like to get into that because I know there's a lot more money to be made there from raising the net operating income rate and selling at the new cap rate.
Mm-hmm. And how did you end up financing this deal?
So we went through a local bank. They're just a marine bank in the area. I had one bank that I was using. I actually flew out, and when I flew out, I met the banker, and we got like a month into it, and they had denied the application, and then I had to really scramble and find new debt for the loan. And so I came home one day and I called every single local bank in the area, and I found one that would do it. So we were able to do it at 3.75 for 25 years on a 5-year balloon.
So walk me through those terms one more time.
25% down,
yep.
5-year balloon, and a 25-year term.
12-year term. What was the interest rate?
3.75.
3.75. Any IO period?
No.
So no IO. 3.75. What was the cap rate you bought this property at?
I had it at a 7.8, but the bank put it at a 7.9. So pretty close. Close right there. Around. And let's see. So when you say a local bank, was it local to you or was it local to the property? Local to the property. Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, that's a key distinction that listeners should kind of think about is even if you're buying a property a couple of states away, don't try to just find a local bank where you are. You need to find a local bank that's around the property. So you want to find a bank that actually knows the market and is confident in the market, and maybe even that actually knows the asset, right? And that'll help your chances of being able to get a local lender or a local bank to be able to, put up the money for the loan.
Yeah, I guess the first bank that denied the loan they actually had the note for the current seller, and so they didn't want to refinance that again or retrade it to me, I guess you could say.
I guess they were ready to get out and move on, right?
Yeah, I get something better.
So how did you structure the deal with your investors that you have in it? Obviously, you brought the largest equity check to the table with your 1031 money that came in. I think you said it was $260,000. Is that correct?
Yep.
And then you brought on the other investors for the remaining 100K. So did each one of them bring in an equal amount, 50 and 50 each?
Yep, that's exactly right.
And what kind of structure did you set up with them as far as equity splits and returns and things like that?
Yeah, so it's kind of a funny story. I had the money to do it myself, and one of my partners is my uncle, and he reached out to me one day and told me a story, and then he goes, "This is called syndication." And I was like, "Oh, you're never going to believe this. I'm actually learning about syndications right now, and I have this property under contract." And he's like, "Well, we need to set up a Zoom meeting." And we set up a Zoom meeting. We went over the numbers, and like by the end of it, you could tell that he was really interested. And so instead of me having to bring another 100,000, which I had from the sale of a different property, he was like, "Oh, well, I could just bring that money and then we could have, like, we could go and do it together." And I was like, "Well, that'd be great." And then he's like, "Well, I have a cousin and he wants to come in too." And I was like, "Okay, well, this is awesome." So he ended up bringing him and his cousin, and they both put in $50,000. They both got a 10% stake, and then I got 80% for my 260.
Okay, so you did like an 80-20 split with them.
Yep.
And what did you do? Did you give like any preferred treatments or anything like that? Any preferred returns or anything like that? Or was it just a straight 80-20? It's
just straight 80-20. So the cash flow comes in, they're going to get 20% of it, and then 10% each, and then I get 80. Yeah, I imagine we might get more difficult when we get into different properties or more into the terms, but on this one we just kind of wanted to close on it, and so we were able to make it work for all of us.
Mm-hmm. And the return that you mentioned earlier, I think you mentioned it was 17.9% IRR. Is that a levered or an unlevered IRR?
That is a great question.
And let me ask you a different question on here. Is the 17.9%, is it a overall project IRR or is it the LP IRR?
It's just the current IRR that we're getting
on the overall project as a whole. It's not. Yes. It's not just from the investors itself.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay. And so when you mentioned earlier that you're getting a 12% cash on cash and they're getting an 8% cash on cash, walk me through that a little bit.
Okay. I'm getting 80% for the 260 I put in, and they're each getting 10% for the 50 they put in. Mm-hmm. And so it was just kind of the way the numbers worked out that I kind of got, I think I got an extra 10% for kind of the work that I did to make it happen. Mm-hmm. And so it brought up my cash on cash return a little more because I got more for less money, I guess you could say.
Sure. Okay. That makes sense. I mean, obviously you're putting the sweat equity in there as well. Mm-hmm. Talk to me about what you're doing for property management on this asset. Cause obviously when it comes to a smaller asset, you're not going to have any on-site management. So you're going to have to go through some sort of usually a local kind of, usually it's a single family rental company that will, kind of manage some smaller multifamilies, but talk us through what kind of company did you choose and how did you do that? And why did you do it?
So there was a bunch of companies in the area. Core 3 is who we ended up using. And I mean, just to find them, I just Googled property management companies in the area and 10 popped up. I called every single one and just kind of went through what their holdings were and what they were comfortable with. Core 3 was actually who had been managing the property already and they were familiar with the tenants that were already placed in there and kind of how things were being ran. We have a backup, which I think I might use, but I'm going to give Core 3 probably another 6 months to see if they're good or not. But I mean, it's too soon to tell, I would say. right now.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it seems to me like, they seem to be doing a pretty decent job if they have the rents are already at the market rents. And what's the occupancy on the property?
Actually, I wrote that down. We have 2 vacant units right now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So the economic vacancy is around 20%.
So you have an 80% occupancy right now.
Yes. Yep.
Okay. And what was it when you bought the property?
I stand corrected. We have 90% occupancy right now. And then our economic occupancy is at 80.
Okay. So 90% occupancy and then an 80% economic.
Yeah.
That's what you're saying? Okay. And walk me through that kind of 10% differential from the economic versus the physical. Is that kind of more COVID related, or what's kind of that mix right there of the delinquencies?
Yeah, we just have 2 people that are, from my understanding, they just got laid off from their jobs and they don't have the income to pay the bill. And then right now, Core 3 actually came up with, there's a program going on in Springfield where they'll actually give like a rent voucher. So we've got a few of the rent vouchers, but I mean, it hasn't been continued. And so right now it's just because of the COVID and everything going on.
Well, I mean, still, even being at that market rents is good. Obviously, if your occupancy starts to drop too much, then you might have to change that market rent to be able to, get the units occupied again. So let me ask you this. So can you think of anything else that maybe happened on this property that might be interesting for us to be able to talk about that we haven't talked about yet?
Nothing is really coming to mind. I'm sorry.
No, that's good. I mean, that means we did a really good show. So
yeah.
So that's great. So I have 2 final questions for you that I wrap every episode up with. And the first question is going to be about, what did you find that was easier during this entire process of this acquisition that maybe originally you thought was going to be a little bit more challenging?
I would say getting the financing on the property.
That was a pretty easy step for you.
I would say it's easier than I thought it was.
Yeah,
for sure. Just being able to call the banks and then they're just sending over term sheets, then you're able to pick through and kind of get the best one for you.
What was the overall timeline from the time you got it under contract to the actual time you signed the papers to close on this property?
It was about 50 days.
50 days. So that's pretty quick, especially with that last lender or that first lender backing out and that last lender being able to come in and do a pretty quick close on it.
Yeah, the owner for some reason wanted to close by the first of the year, and we had to kind of push it out a little bit.
Yeah. So what did you find was harder than originally expected that maybe you thought was going to be a little bit more easy?
I'd say getting the loan again, just because it's like I went to get the loan and then everything worked out. Like there was no problems at all. And then, 3 weeks before closing, they called me and said that I didn't get approved, and now I got to go out and try and find another lender again. So it was kind of that double-edged sword of it. Was easier than I thought it would be, and obviously harder than I thought it would be as well.
Well, I think, Chantz, you are a go-getter when it comes to trying to find the solution to a problem. And I see a lot of people that can sometimes just give up and throw their hands up and go, I'm out because I can't get the loan, right? But I've had multiple people on the podcast here that have done exactly what you've done. They've said, you know what, I'm going to get this deal closed. And so they basically pick up the phone and call every bank in the area and sit down, have conversations, have phone calls, figure out what they can do to be able to get this deal across the closing table. And that's what the sellers like, obviously. And that's also what the brokers like. And I'm sure you have deepened the relationship with this broker, and hopefully these assets that they're already turning over to you or that you're looking at now are being sent to you by this broker because they know that you are a closer.
Hopefully.
Yeah. Well, Chantz, tell the listeners how they can reach out to you if they have further questions for you about this acquisition, or maybe they want to pick your brain a little bit about that triplex that you bought when you were 21. How can they reach out to you to be able to further the conversation?
Cool. Yeah, you can email me at Chantz@Ireland Group Capital, and Chantz is CHANTZ, or you can reach out on Instagram at Investor Chantz, and Chantz is CHANTZ.
Awesome. Well, Chantz, thank you again so much for jumping on and being part of the podcast. Looking forward to continuing to follow you as you continue to close more deals, and looking forward to maybe having you on a future episode as well.
Cool. Awesome, Dan. Thanks for having me.
All right. Thank you so much.